My guest today is Tommy D. Tommy D is an award-winning, multi-platinum selling music producer. He's a songwriter, artist, DJ. He's part of a graph crew, Graffiti 6, I think. He's a presenter, public speaker. Man, Tommy D, you're a busy man. He's also one of the founders behind TokenTraxx, a new British tech startup that is using Web3 tools to help innovate on the new and exciting ways we're all going to be engaging with music. Hey, this is going to be a fun one. I can tell already. Welcome to the show, Tommy D.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Andy. It's early morning here, late night for you, but I'm sure we can find a way of connecting each other into the world of beautiful blockchain and crypto and music. I'm gonna
Sounds
just
good.
turn off my just gonna turn off my things that are gonna go beep and buzz and whatever on my computer. So give me a second.
Of
Sorry.
course.
There's left over from last night. Let me just get rid of them. Hang on. There we go. Let's get rid of Discord because that's the one that makes so much fucking noise.
Bro,
Right.
does Discord is, oh my God.
Isn't Discord just getting your? I mean, it's like crack. Discord. It really is. It just gets into you. And hello, I'm here. Hello,
Yeah,
I'm Discord.
you gotta turn all the notifications off, turn off
Oh,
direct messages. Yeah.
drives me up
Anyway,
the wall.
Tommy, I think you need to let's rewind a bit. I think we need to understand a bit about who you are. So please introduce yourself. Who is Tommy D?
Yes, who is? Yes, that's the immortal question. Well, the thing is what's interesting. I think about my career and my life is that um, I've never really done things by the book. I've always tried to do things differently, and I didn't realize that until quite later on in life. I realized that I left school very early at 16 without any qualifications really, and I just loved music and I wanted to do music. And actually, my career officer said to me, "What do you want to be?" And I said, "A roadie." And I was like, and he was like, "What's a roadie?" And I said, "It's this guy that goes on tour with bands and just like it's just like the best life." And I thought this was like the most amazing thing. So, yeah, I've been in music pretty much all my life, coming up to 30 years now, and it's just been an absolute joy and a treat and a privilege to be part of it. I got into music, as I said early on, when I left school, and I started playing in bands and working in music shops, and I learned a lot about electronic music equipment. I always had a fascination with electronic music, but also I'm a guitarist and I love like Hendrix and Jimmy Page and Jimi Hendrix and Chic and things like that. And so I had this right kind of weird desire to bring those worlds together, kind of like bring Hendrix and Led Zepp and the Beatles and stuff together with Kraftwerk and Tangerine Dream and all of this kind of a way of doing it. And I don't really know why, but I just had a desire to bring those kind of worlds together. And so I constantly tried to work on music that sort of did that. In fact, the first record I ever made was I called it Chunky Chicken after my favorite tinned chicken dish at the time. It's what you do when you're a student. Well, I wasn't even a student, but on the dole in the UK. And I called it Chunky Chicken. And basically it was an 808 beat, like mad fat 808 beat, with this me playing like crazy Jimi Hendrix guitar licks over it for about 9 minutes. And I still get people today. I mean, I've pressed this up and drove around in my mum's delivery van, delivering this and selling it out the back of my mum's delivery van. And I still get people today emailing me and saying, "Have you got a copy of Chunky Chicken?" And it's like, because it was like this really weird underground record. It was all at the time of the beginning of acid house. And no, it was even earlier than that, I would say. It was even earlier than that. It was sort of more like a electro period, like Mantronics and stuff like that. Because I went and lived in New York for a bit and discovered not acid house, but kind of like the garage sound. I was invited to this amazing club one night and sat there on the bass bin, just never experienced anything like it. And this was the garage, Paradise Garage, and the people that were there, the DJs, everything was just like nothing I'd ever seen growing up in South London.
Oh,
And
like
trust
that.
me, I've seen quite a lot in South London, but
Yeah.
not the garage.
Yeah, Paradise Garage, that was Larry Levan, right?
Yeah, Larry Levan, and it was, you know, obviously it went on to become this, and is still revered as this kind of groundbreaking club, because I think it was one of the first clubs that really focused on the sound system, you know, marrying up the kind of Jamaican sound systems, that heavy bass sound systems, but bringing it into kind of disco and what became house music. And it was really my first experience of experiencing sound, not just listening to sound. And that was it. I was off then, and I was you know, just in the studio the whole time and DJing the whole time and making music. And yeah, carry on.
Yeah, well, and I'm just looking at your website, Tommy, and it says Tommy has spent his life mixing genres, mixing tunes, even mixing whiskey. He believes in harmony through mixology, mixing styles to create something new. What does that mean? What's harmony through mixology? I like that.
Yeah, harmony through mixology is something I coined about 10 years ago, when, a little bit less than that maybe, when I was, so I started my own whiskey company because I wanted to bring, you know, I wanted to connect, I wanted to find a way of bringing like value for a musician. I'm going to start this again. I started my own whiskey company because basically I was looking at ways of supporting musicians. I've always looked at ways of supporting artists, right? And I was trying to find a way of supporting artists. And I thought, what better way to do it for alcohol? You know, everyone loves a drink. And I was looking at how to, and I was working with a guy, amazing guy called Harry Dinek, who was a family friend who sadly passed away a couple of years back, but was a real inspiration for me. You know, you go through life and you meet these people that become your real mentors. And Harry was one of those people. And he said to me one day, he said, he built Red Bull, Harry. I mean, you know, the guy knew how to build brands and taught me so much about marketing brands and stuff. And he said, look, what does music mean to you? And I thought about that question. You know what? When you suddenly someone asks you a question that basically says, why have you done what you've done for the whole of your life? It kind of hits you in it just, if it hits you at the right time, it hits you in exactly the right place, you know, inside. And I started walking around thinking about this. And what I realized was that I love collaboration. I love working with people, and I love coming up with ideas with people. I mean, I'm constantly bemused by the concept of walking into a studio in the morning with three people I've probably never met before in my life, and walking out sort of 12 hours later with a song and a recording of that song, or at least you know, the starting point of it. It just blows my mind, that kind of creativity and the way that you look at the world, and you look at, you know, a pair of curtains and you think, how did they do that? How did they make those curtains? How did they come up with the design and the fabric? And, you know, I love deconstructing stuff. And so harmony through mixology is that basic concept of saying, look at the world, look at how people do things. Other human beings are no better and no worse than you. They've got all the same things that you've got inside, you know, all the same limbs and elements of creativity. They might be slightly wired differently, but they've got everything that you've got. How did they make those curtains? And then trying to find ways of deconstructing it. And ultimately what I realized was, this is exactly what I do with music. I listened even from when I was a little kid, I'd listened to the Beatles and the Stones and Led Zeppelin, Stevie Wonder and Kraftwerk and Tangerine Dream. I'd listen to it and I'd try and work out how they made those sounds, and I would deconstruct it to the point where it literally started with the basics of the song. What's the melody? What's the lyric? And then the chords they've put around those melodies and lyrics, and the drum beat and the bass lines, and how did they get those sounds? How did they get that drum sound? How did they get the bass sound? And by doing that, what it gave me was, it educated me in an ability to deconstruct. And deconstruct is a really cool thing, because if you can deconstruct something and deconstruct something else, then what you can do is start from the basics of merging those two things together. And that's when you get harmony through mixology. And harmony is a really important word, because nobody quite understands what harmony is, but we know it when we see it, or we feel it, or we hear it. You know, there is, of course, a science to harmony with colors and waveforms and sounds. but really it's one of those brilliant mysteries of life and nature. It's like, why are the birds and the bees and the trees and the flowers, why are they do their thing? And this is why I call it harmony, because what we're trying to do is bring together that kind of acceptance that we have naturally, and we're doing it by mixology. We're doing it by deconstruction, mixing things together and then building them back up again. And I particularly like it when music, when you say, you know, mixing shit that shouldn't be mixed, because a lot of people have very kind of, you know, slightly up their nose, snotty ideas about what music should and shouldn't do. And I'm a firm believer in there's only two types of music in this world, good and bad. And that's it. And it's an opinion. What, you know, whatever I don't like, somebody else does somewhere else, and vice versa, you know? So I learned that, and I realized that that's what I did from a very early age. You know, I tried to mix Jimi Hendrix guitars with 808, you know, fat beats, and that's harmony through mixology.
Amazing. And Tommy, look, I want to get to TokenTraxx and Web3, but I think, you know, I'm just fascinated. I can see you've worked with everyone from, you know, Kylie Minogue, Janet Jackson, Kanye West, Jay-Z, Noel Gallagher, Beyonce, it says here. Quite a few people. You have been a busy chap. What did you do with Kanye West?
So Kanye, I work with my wife Rosie, who's one of the most incredible stringer orchestrators and arrangers out there.
Right.
And really, really genius. Even though she's my wife, I have to say that, but she actually really is. And she was asked to get some string players for a TV show in the UK we have called Top of the Pops. Way back when, this was sort of, I don't know, God, Nick must be coming up to 20 years ago now. And Kanye was for Kanye. Actually, she said to me, "Who's Kanye West?" And I said, "Kanye West? I've no idea who Kanye West is." And then I went, "Oh, Kanye West." Kanye was literally had just come out with the first album. And he was doing All Falls Down on Top of the Pops. And Rosie was asked to do these strings, just to put stringers around it. And he just loved what Rosie had done. And at the time she was pregnant with our first kid, and so I'd just gone along to help her out, really. And I got chatting with Kanye, and you know, he loved what Rosie had done, and he said, "Look, can you put together some string arrangements for this GQ party I'm doing in Milan tomorrow?" So we ended up flying to Milan, and that basically was the starting point. Actually, what happened was we were in the sound check, and I was just standing by the soundboard, and I went over to see him, and he said, "What does it sound like?" And I said, "Actually, it doesn't sound all that good." And he said, "Well, make it sound better. That's your job." And I went, "I've just met you, and you're already kind of like bossing me around like that. But you know what? You're absolutely right. It doesn't matter whether I'm getting paid for something or not. That is my job. My job is to make things sound better." So I went over to the sound guy. I said, "Look, you've got to sort this out." And I, you know, tore sheets out the sound guy, and we got a great sound. But that started a really great relationship between me and him, and then him and Rosie. And he would always just send things over, and he got really into orchestras. He came around to the house, and we got some of the string players to come around and just play live, because I said, let's just do that. He'll love that. You know, I come from South London. I know hip hop. I know that kind of thing. I've brought up with hip hop. That's, you know, I absolutely adore hip hop. At the background of, I think, of everything I do is the culture of hip hop. And I knew he would really react well to that, because there's something about him. The moment I met him, I knew this guy isn't like other rappers. He's just not like that. He's got some much deeper art kind of concepts going on in his head, which of course over years have absolutely proven to be right. And I think, you know, he just really responded well to that. And then that's it. We've worked on his projects ever since. We haven't worked with him for a while, but, you know, we did all kinds of stuff. We did an amazing show where we orchestrated the whole of 808 and Heartbreaks for at the Hollywood Bowl, which was just an insane show a couple of years back. And we've done a whole bunches of shows with him and stuff, and it's a great honor. I still think he's one of the most incredible people that's out there, one of the best producers and artists out there. And I know he's excuse me, I know he's vilified obviously a lot for his outbursts and stuff like that, but that's just who he is, and I don't think it's right to condemn someone for because they've got mental health issues. You know, he is who he is, but he is one of the most exciting and continues to be one of the most innovative people on the planet.
Yeah, well, look, I'm with you, Tommy. I've always been quite a big Kanye fan, and I'm watching the the Netflix doco that they've just released on him. I think there's three parts to it. I've watched the first two. Man, just incredible because it's all the sort of early footage of Kanye in his early years, and he knew he was going to do something big, and so of course had a dude just following along, filming everything, and man, it's just it's an emotional watch to say the least.
Yeah, I've not had an opportunity to watch it. We've just been so busy with TokenTraxx that I've just not watched. You know, I can just about squeeze in watching my beloved Tottenham Hotspur play, but that's about it most of the time. And I'm refusing to watch the news at the moment with all the horrific stuff that's going on, and we're getting so much mixed messages and stuff. It's so I mean, I think it's really, you see, there's an example of, I think, how innovative he was. 20 years ago, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have any of that stuff, and yet he knew that it was, that documenting visually through video was going to be a big thing. He always had a film crew around him.
Mm.
He always had people filming him and stuff like that. He was the only artist at the time that did that I worked with at the time did that. And often it was like, oh, I wish, looking back, I wish I'd had that, wish I'd had that. But of course, everybody does it now. I mean, anybody you work with in the studio turns up with either a film crew or at least is filming everything every 2 seconds on their phone, because everybody understands that in this world of Instagram and TikTok and whatever, you've got to absolutely have that visual package along with the music package.
I reckon I could easily fill an hour just chatting musicians and music gossip with you, Tommy, and maybe we'll do that another time. But I feel we should give you an opportunity to talk about TokenTraxx. So I guess as a segue into that, are you much of a crypto guy at all? Have you dabbled in the wonderful world of crypto before TokenTraxx?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I first, obviously, like most people, I think, certainly in my generation, maybe younger, I first sort of heard about Bitcoin back in 2010, 2011, 2012, around that time. Um, I'm sure most people thought that it was some, currency, well, of course it is a currency, but literally a physical currency. So I kept on seeing these sort of pictures of like gold coins, and I was like, where do you buy these gold Bitcoins from? And I think, like most people who found it in that time, it was probably trying to buy drugs on the Silk Road, although they would never admit that. But I wasn't necessarily doing that, but I was intrigued by it, but not to the point where I really got into it and bought any of it, of course, to my detriment. But then in 2015, 16, I then discovered it properly. I was looking for ways of tokenizing whiskey and, having my own whiskey brand. And I was looking at ways of creating like a kind of membership scheme around my whiskey. And that's when I got introduced to a bunch of different crypto people who talked to me about how we could do that. It didn't come off, but the whole thing completely stayed with me. And I started, as we all do, got lured by the Kool-Aid, and off we went. And you buy this weird currency, Bitcoin, and then you see it fluctuate so incredibly, so over the space of a week, it goes up 10% and then goes down 10%. And you're like, this is insane. I love this. It's like some kind of weird currency roller coaster ride, and then you start reading behind it, the tech, and you start learning about politics and family and love and financial institutions and all these kinds of things that you've taken for granted and grown up with all your life, that you suddenly realize these systems are in place that are designed to keep people in their place. And coming from the UK, we have this very strong class culture that's permeated throughout history for years, for decades, centuries, and we all have this weird feeling inside of us that we're not, that we're supposed to be we're supposed to be some kind of person, we're middle class or lower class or upper class. And I know other countries have similar kind of structures, but I don't think, because we have a monarchy and everything, it's really permeated through our society. And you're seeing it more than ever. I think now you're seeing it with the people that are in charge now. You're seeing it more than ever. And I started going, hang on a minute, there's something in this that connects to music. And I couldn't work out what it was. And at the time, in sort of 2016 time, there was a lot of talk about royalty payments and how royalties could be revolutionized by being on chain. And something didn't sit right about that for me, partly because I've been signed to major labels, as an artist, as a songwriter. I've worked with major label artists all my life. I count personally the 3 heads of the major labels as friends of mine. And I know the way that system works, and that system is a broken system. It's not fit for purpose. When 12% of the money that is generated by music, actually only 12% gets to the artists that make them, the music creators that make it, that's not a good system. That's not right. And I know you can draw comparisons to, say, fruit or or whatever, there are lots of comparisons of how, the actual makers of a product or whatever, or the growers of a product end up getting the raw end of the stick. That doesn't make it any better. That doesn't make it all right. It doesn't make it right that music is a system that's designed around creators being able to create incredible stuff and having the freedom to create incredible stuff. And that freedom comes from financial freedom. And so when blockchain talked about decentralization and talked about the concepts of financial freedom, that really struck a chord with me. But the royalty thing, it wouldn't happen. Majors and publishers and the system, and I really stress this, the system is the problem. I wrote a tweet about it, and anybody that wants to go to my Twitter feed will see it. I wrote it last night, ironically enough. And it basically points out that it started with MTV, and then it went through illegal downloading, and we all embraced illegal downloading because I loved illegal downloading. It was amazing. I could find all this incredible music that up to then was quite difficult to find, but it was, and it was free. And it was like, wow, this is fantastic. But the problem with it was it was free. So someone's not getting paid and money's not being generated. And therefore the people that bought the music, or rather people that made the music weren't getting paid. And being one of those people, I had this weird sort of dichotomy of like, I love this system. It's brilliant, but I'm not getting paid. And so I knew that, and then from that point onwards, with MTV and with streaming and the streaming companies and the majors having to lurch into whatever they could find to reconnect value to music, and streaming came along and set precedents that we're all suffering from today. It's the system. It's not streaming's fault. It's not the majors' fault. It's not people that downloaded illegally's fault. It's not MTV's fault for setting precedents around the value of music at the time. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the system we've ended up with. And that system needs to change. Blockchain and NFTs are the change that it needs. And it was when I discovered NFTs a couple of years back that, when CryptoKitties came along, I was like, that's fun. That's silly. That's really good. It's bringing a bit of joy and silliness into what can be quite a boring, staid kind of subject, which is fintech. And I didn't realize, the penny didn't drop for me with CryptoKitties until a bit later on, when I suddenly went, hang on a minute, this is a unique token. This is something that can be attached to a unique thing. Well, music's unique, a performance is unique, a song is unique. And I thought, that's it. That's the thing. But at the time, everybody was scrambling around, very techie. Everything was very techie. And don't get me wrong, I love tech. I adore tech. I'm, as I said, Jimi Hendrix guitar beats over 808 drums. I love tech, but I think tech people come sometimes from a point where they forget that real people exist that aren't techie. And so things become, you know, like we have now. It's like, yeah, what do you mean you don't understand digital wallet and a seed phrase and a you know, and a different, you know, chains, and you can't send Ethereum to Bitcoin, you can't send Bitcoin to Tesla. What do you mean you don't understand that? There's a bit of that goes on. And I definitely felt that was the case with music. We weren't at the time, there wasn't the kind of, what I believed was the kind of discovery and fun element of music in any kind of tech platform. So as it is with me, as I always do, I don't sit there and bemoan it. I go about it and do something about it. And I learned a very valuable lesson from being a music producer, which is, if you want to be a genius, surround yourself with geniuses. And so I went out to build a team of geniuses that knew exactly all the things that I didn't. And trust me, I didn't know a lot about. I certainly didn't know a lot about the tech side, the regulation side, the legal side. I know a lot about that side in music, but not in tech. And obviously, since, you know, for the last 2 years, I've studied it massively, and now I'm pretty good at understanding it. And I think my role with creating TokenTraxx is to straddle both camps, is to be in the music camp as a creator, as a curator, as somebody who is a DJ and a music producer, and then also someone who just loves music, which is what we call the collectors. We call it the 3 C's: creators, curators, and collectors. They're the ecosystem by which all music discovery, engagement, and pure love is surrounded by. We are all collectors of music in some way. So we collect some music, some artists or genres more than others, but we all collect music in a way. We all discover it, we all find it. How do we discover it and we find it? We discover it and we find it through curators. Curators funnel that music that gets made into a package which is manageable, and that is made by creators. And so the 3 C's are very important. And I sat down with a bunch of crypto heads and said, look, I've got this concept around the 3 C's to create an ecosystem around it. You know, we'll start with like a platform, but we look at every aspect of how we engage with music. And with the basic premise of, you know, if we could start again with the simple concept of, here is someone that makes music and here is someone that loves music. What goes on in between? Because at the moment, what goes on in between are 82% of the money gets taken by. Okay, 82% of that money gets taken by what goes on in between. So effectively, you could say it's the delivery mechanism is taking 82% of my money. And that's not right. When the people that deliver your product get paid more than the people that make it, that's not right. That's not a good system. So again, that system is broken, but you can't really attack that system. It's too strong. So what do you do with systems which you can't really attack? You create a new system that's more appealing. And that's what we're doing with Music 3, as I call it, which is a sort of a more personalized, you know, version of Web3. But the same concepts. Music 3 is, you know, listen, share, own. And you create a new system that then becomes appealing to those that either are already coming through into the industry, you know, and they're going into the system and they can make more money. They can have a better experience. They have more freedom to do what they want. Or they can go into where their old system of being signed to a major label or being signed to, you know, or going through that thing. And actually, in theory, you can have both systems running concurrently. But what it does is, if the new system, let's call it the Music 3 system, if the Music 3 system is more appealing, then the Music 2 system needs to pivot and change into something that's more relevant and something that's more valuable. You've got to be relevant and valuable. A system has to be relevant and valuable, otherwise people won't adopt it. So that's what we're doing at TokenTraxx. And as you quite rightfully said, we look at every aspect of music, you know, NFTs and the ownership around exclusivity of experiences, which is how I prefer to look at it. Then I don't think NFTs are products. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that NFT, they think NFTs are product, the same way that you mistake that Bitcoin was an actual gold coin. It's not. NFTs are not a product. They are a bag of rules that say, if A happens, B happens, and if B happens, C happens. And you can attach that bag of rules to pretty much anything that needs that kind of unique bag of rules. You know, it could be a song, it could be the bass player in that song, it could be the recording of that song, the remix of that song, it could be a t-shirt that revolves around it, it could be a gig ticket, it could be everything, all of those things wrapped up in a kind of VIP package. And so TokenTraxx is that. That is what it is. It's a way of, we take artists, we sit them down and we say, this is the concepts around blockchain. This is what you need to learn. If you don't know about it, go off and learn about it. When you're ready, come back. And then we build a 6 to 12 month campaign around what an artist is doing. And we look at every aspect of how we can use blockchain and NFTs to build out their fan club effectively. Now, their fan club is going to consist, all artists have a fan club. I mean, from the moment you stand up in front of on a stage and start playing a gig, you play a gig to like 50 people in a room, you know, 5 of them are going to come back afterwards, maybe if you're lucky, and say, I love what you're doing. You know, you're doing any more gigs? You know, can I get a selfie? You know, have you got anything I can buy? You know, have you got, you know, you can buy them a t-shirt or, you know, whatever. And then, you know, those 5 people come to your next gig. And they bring 5 more with them. And you know what? Suddenly you've got 10 or 15 people coming up after the gig and saying the same thing. And before you know it, you're playing to 1,000 people and you've got 200 of them at the merch stand afterwards. And I've experienced that as an artist. I've experienced that working with artists. And it's brilliant. You know, it's a beautiful thing to stand with people whose music, who you know, who love what you do, who love your music. And that's really the essence of being a music creator, is that feeling of like, you know, and being around people that really just appreciate what I've done, you know. So everyone loves that. Everyone loves to be appreciated. And so it, you know, TokenTraxx looks at all these ways that people do that, and then tries to use blockchain and NFTs to make that experience, first of all, more exciting, more interesting, fun. Fun's a big word. Fun, you know, things need to be fun. And last but not least is transactional. And actually, I think there's too much emphasis on transactions in NFTs. We like to say in TokenTraxx, we're transformational, not transactional. And it's about transforming people's lives, not just the creators' lives, but also, as I said, the curators' lives and the collectors' life. For the first time ever, someone who loves music can invest in theory, I hate that word, but can invest in them in such a way as to actually make a financial return. You know, I was very lucky because being in the music business, I got to go and see all these gigs and stuff like that. And you know, I saw people like the Killers for the first time in the UK, Madonna I saw for the first time in the UK, you know, Kings of Leon, all these bands and stuff like that I saw for the first time. Now, if I bought a t-shirt at the time of any of those artists, what would I have now? 20 years later, I'd have a t-shirt, you know, and great. I would put that up on eBay and say an original t-shirt. How would I prove that it was an original t-shirt? I wouldn't be able to prove it, you know. And so, but if I bought an NFT of that t-shirt, I would not only be able to prove it, but it would have intrinsic value that I could have invested, I could have sold on at any one time. I could have, in theory, fractionalized it at some point and sold sold shares in that t-shirt, you know. So I mean, there's all kinds of things that one can do now, which I think is so brilliant. And you know, this is what I think. The industry changes, music changes. Music at the heart always stays the same. It's always about people trying to connect emotions, trying to make a sense of this crazy fucking world that we live in, you know. And music is a brilliant way of doing that. It's a brilliant way of transcending religions and genres and whatever. It gets to you right at the heart. The medium with which music comes in has changed many times over the years, but the essence of it stays the same. This is a period where I believe we are going to see as big a change in culture and IP as the internet brought in. I remember sitting in my uncle's office looking at his computer when I was a kid and seeing the internet for the first time and thinking, you know what, this is going to change the world. This really is. And then I got the same feeling about iPods when I got an iPod. I got the same feeling when I got an iPhone, same feeling when I saw iTunes and then Spotify. And now I get that same feeling when I look at crypto and I look at NFTs. This is the change that the industries needs. It's actually the change that the world needs, really.
Yes, indeed. And Tommy, so it sounds like you want to do some quite ambitious things with TokenTraxx. So, you want to do everything from giving artists the ability to tokenize songs and albums and release, no doubt, a range of different NFTs relating to the music and merchandise and concert ticketing and all that kind of stuff. And I believe in order to do this, there's a token component, and there's a sale for that is coming up soon. Is that right?
That's right. We are doing a token sale on the 14th of March. The idea being that I believe at the heart of every good, strong community, it needs a currency. And so we created the Trax token to have all kinds of governance and permissions and features that then support the whole community, because some artists are big and some artists are small, but I believe in a community where artists should be supporting each other. And we kind of had that, I think, originally in the original in music, when music business was governed a lot by the majors. I mean, it's still, don't get me wrong, still is, but it's changed now. It used to be that, like a record company would sign maybe 20 artists and two of those artists would fund the other 18. But I believe that's only 20 artists. There are millions of artists out there. And actually there are a lot of artists. I have this theory that, which is like the million listener gang, and basically there are millions of artists on Spotify that get less than 1 million listeners a month. And those artists, I mean, that may sound like a lot, 1 million listeners a month, but by streaming terms, it's not. And those artists are great. There's so much good music in that field, but it's not getting discovered because of Spotify algorithms and major dominance and all that kind of stuff I discussed earlier. And so those people are the perfect, those artists, those creators are the perfect people for TokenTraxx. They're the perfect artists that need that kind of basic straight up support. There's a concept called 1,000 True Fans, which was written by Kevin Kelly, the guy who's founded Wired. And his concept was, you don't need millions of likes and views and listens. You just need 1,000 true fans that will give you $100 a year. I've brought that up to date a bit more, and I call it 100 true partners. 100 true partners in you, the artist, Tommy D Inc. And they will generate $1,000, because with blockchain, of course, you can do that. You can bring that kind of value into NFT products. And the Trax token is at the heart of that. And we've got a load of really cool things. We've got an amazing reward system that our CTO, Jitin Jain, who is an absolute genius, has put together an incredible reward system around, that's not just the basic, 1,000% staking. It's much, much cooler than that. And it will really help and support artists. So, it's a system whereby, TokenTraxx is a system whereby you can support artists, but you can also support yourself. And I think that's really, really key, whether you are a creator, a curator, or a collector.
So talk to us then about timing then, Tommy. So first, let's do the token sale first. If people are interested in getting involved, where do they go, or what do they do? And then secondly, the TokenTraxx marketplace itself. What is the timeline on the product roadmap, the rollout? What does it look like?
I'm just going to remind myself of the procedure. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Okay. So the roadmap is basically that we have the Trax token sale on the 14th. There's 350 million Trax tokens available. They will be on they'll be on the platform, and there's a platform and an exchange token. No, sorry, hang on. I'm just reading this. Sorry. Let me start that again. So the Trax token, there's 350 million of these things. Yay! Love that. Imagine making your own currency. It just blows my mind. They're both a platform and an exchange token. They're going to be minted on the Ethereum mainnet and bridge to Polygon and Zilliqa. Very important. We have a great partnership going with Zilliqa, who I think are a really amazing blockchain. But we are kind of blockchain agnostic, if that's the right word. We believe in multi-chain. I believe in multi-chain. I believe that all chains are basically the same. They're like washing machines. I use that analogy. They all wash your clothes. You can all do stuff with chains. Every washing machine has different features and different price points, and that's what you need to do. Do your research, kids, and find out about each chain. We're working with a number of different chains. We're going to be adding more and more blockchains as we go along. We want artists to have the choice of understanding. So that's what the Traxx token is going to be doing. And there'll be a rewards scheme, as I mentioned, this benefit scheme. The platform is going to be released very soon. I'm not going to put a date on it because that would be no one knows exactly when, but let me just tell you, it's very soon. And we're just starting with a really simple platform to get everybody out into what we're doing and understanding what we're doing. But behind the scenes, we're already developing a much more comprehensive and wider approach to the 3Cs concept, like I said, around creation, curation, and collection. And yeah, you'll be able to go to TokenTraxx, TokenTraxx.com. Go there now and follow, sign up, follow the procedures. You know, you have to do some KYC because it's buying tokens. So, you know, you have to do a bit of that to start with. You're buying them directly from us, which is fine because that's what you would do if you were signing up to an exchange or anything, the same kind of vibe. It's a very simple process. And please do go and do it. Get involved. You know, this is a really cool project. Although I say it myself, it's a really cool project. And I think what's really exciting about TokenTraxx is we've got such a brilliant team. As I said, surround yourself with geniuses if you want to look like a genius. And we have an incredible team that's an amazing tech team right at the cutting edge of what we all have. A brilliant innovation team as well, great legal and regulation team, which of course, if you're doing tokens, and you know, we're developing royalty infused tokens so you can buy royalties in people's music, you know, that all of that stuff needs to be really secure. There are laws out there. There are regulations. We've seen it this week with Biden coming out saying he's going to, you know, instruct his people to start looking at how they can regulate it more. Regulation will come to this space. There's no doubt about it. We have super-proofed ourselves. We have forward, you know, we've looked to the future-proof. Thank you. That's what I'm using. We have future-proofed ourselves to be secure. We believe in TokenTraxx. We believe this is at least a 10-year project. That's how long it took streaming to become more prevalent, and that's what TokenTraxx, that's what we believe is where we're at. We'll still be here in 10 years. This is no rug pull. This is a proper business with proper people. We're based in the UK. We're governed by UK law, which is, for people that know, is some of the most you know, cast iron law in the world. And we have this incredible music division that I've built with people like Miles Leonard, ex-CEO Warner Music. We just announced Danton Supple is one of the you know, he's an amazing producer, produced Coldplay, all kinds of people. We've got a number of really big name artists that are coming on board as well. We've got, we take on artists and we work with them. We're not a free for all, we're an invite only. Maybe further down the line, we'll change that. But we believe at this moment that education is the best way of getting forward and getting people into this space. Education and success. There's no point in having artists on our platform that don't succeed. We want them to succeed, and we've got the team to help them do that. Once we have that kind of success and education, we start building out crypto in general. And that's my main goal, is to bring more and more people into crypto. So that's what TokenTraxx is all about.
Awesome. I love it, Tommy D. Well, let's go to a very quick break and then we will come back. We'll have some fun. We'll finish off with the very famous Crypto Conversation Hot Take Round.
Fantastic. Thank you, mate.
All right, we're back and I'm with Tommy D. Tommy D has been laying out the good word, really, spreading the wisdom and the message of what he hopes to do with TokenTraxx. And well, it's going to be a journey. It's going to be fascinating to watch. I'd love to see you pull this off, Tommy D. Tommy D. It's an exciting time to be a disruptor in the Web3 music and NFT space. But I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid fire crypto conversation hot takes. Tommy D, are you up for it?
Yes. Hit me.
All right. I just want it's rapid fire, quick snappy answers, hot take style. You're a good talker, Tommy. I'll give you that. So I'll be fascinated to see what you've got to say. Question one, Tommy D, is where do you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-coin opportunist spectrum? And I know you've answered that already, but please go ahead.
Well, actually, I don't really understand that question. To reframe it in a way that I'm not, Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain. Oh,
yeah,
what?
are you a Bitcoin maximalist or you believe in a multi-chain future?
Oh, thank you. Okay. My answer is I absolutely believe in multi-chain. I mean, we have, there are, like I said, I believe that all chains are a bit like washing machines. They all do the same thing, but they've all got different features and different benefits. You just got to do your research and find out what is good and bad. I don't like people who say this one's going to beat Ethereum and that one's going to, do that. They're all, it's stupid. They all wash clothes.
100%. All right, Tommy D, what would you say is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
That everybody has a right to do what they think is right with their hard-earned, cash, the rewards that they get for their efforts. And I think we don't have that right now. We don't have that system. And I think blockchain can help with that, bringing that more egalitarian concept into the world.
What are the skeptics missing about NFTs? Like if someone comes to you and they say, "Oh, mate, Tommy D, I can't believe you're getting involved with these NFTs. It's rubbish. It's burning the planet. It's a scam." What do you say?
Good luck, mate. Good luck with the system you're in. And you know what? I'll see you in 5 years because you'll be here whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I could not agree more. It's a good way of putting it, Tommy. Just spit the truth. All right. Sci-fi author William Gibson said that the future is already here. Tommy D, it's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now? And I'm sure you can, but most people just aren't really aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the future holds a much simpler system of automated micropayments. That's what I believe in general. Actually, I think any creative IP, I'm talking about IP, I think for now, any kind of IP that one generates should be paid for straight away and that's what blockchain has the facility to do. Whether the gatekeepers that are in charge now will allow that, they will allow it eventually because they will pivot into that system, but it's just how long, really.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as we finish off, Tommy, time to zoom out, time to get weird for just a second. We've been pretty weird so far, but let's keep going with it. What do you see as the long-term future for the human race, Tommy D? Do you see a utopia or dystopia?
I think what we have an opportunity right now to make that choice. I think people in history will look back in history at this moment in time and see that this is a crucial period. We have an opportunity now, and that if the pandemic taught us anything, it is that we are human beings. We have needs and desires, and actually, what is really important is friendships, family, and creativity. I'm a strong believer that creativity is the way forward. That's what differentiates the human race from every other thing in this planet, and that includes blockchain and technology. Creativity, humans' ability to use harmony through mixology as a concept, and creativity is what makes us who we are. And we will never fail if we keep creativity at the heart of what is important in our life.
I love it. Tommy D, let's start to close this out. What is your favorite science fiction book, film, TV show, or universe?
I was a huge fan of Malcolm Bradbury when I was a kid and used to watch or read all his books like back to back. But you know what? I have to say Star Wars, because for me, Star Wars was, as for my generation, Star Wars was and still is, you know, it's no wonder people talk about it in religious terms, because to me it was a religion, watching it, experiencing it, understanding every aspect about it. It's Star Wars all day long, mate.
Wonderfully said, Tommy. And you're a whiskey guy. Do you enjoy a single malt?
I like all different types of whiskies. Actually, my whiskey 808 is a single grain, so it's a much smoother, softer. It's a bit. It's even though it's a Scotch, it's more like an Irish whiskey, and it's also got, because it's finished off in bourbon cask, so it's got a really lovely bourbony kind of a tone to it as well. It's great. 808. I called it after the drum machine that revolutionized my life. I told you, 808 beats and Hendrix guitars, and it's designed to revolutionize the whiskey world and shake it up. You know, harmony through mixology, mate. I shake shit up that shouldn't be shaked. I mix shit up that shouldn't be mixed.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Tommy D. This has been a lot of fun. Nothing else to say really except hand the metaphorical microphone back to your good self. Tell the people where they can find you on Twitter, and where they should go to just learn more about what you guys are building with TokenTraxx, and how people can get and stay involved.
Best thing to do is go to my website, which is the one and only Tommy D, the number one. So the number one Tommy D, one and only Tommy D. God, I didn't get it right. Let me say that again. Best thing to do is to go to my website, the one and only Tommy D, one being the number one. And there's links there for everything, including TokenTraxx. There's also a bit more understanding about what I've done and videos and things like that. And then with TokenTraxx, TokenTraxx, two X's for two kisses for love. And yeah, go to tokentraxx.com, and there's all the stuff there that you need to find out about that. I'm on social media. I'm at Tommy Danvers on everything. And yeah, please come and follow me on Twitter. I do a Twitter space every Monday at 6 p.m. UK time, where we talk about NFTs and music and TokenTraxx and everything it is. And we've been going for 6 months now. It's absolutely brilliant. And I get so many amazing people on from the music business and from crypto. And we kind of like, you know, have this debate about music and NFTs. So please come and join me on Twitter Spaces, 6 p.m. UK time.
Awesome. Love your work. Thanks very much, Tommy D. All the best, and bye for now.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's a brilliant honor. And next time you're in London, come and get an 808 with me.
All right.